Hello, sweet souls. Thank you for being here in this moment. It is DTO, and I'm in the flow. And today I get to interview an extraordinary soul, Jamie Shadowlight, on my podcast. And this is all about art, music, and self expression. And I absolutely promise you that you will see Jamie embodying this in so many aspects of her life, from sharing her origin story of how she began her love for music and how she started to play a multitude of instruments as well as singing. And September 17th, if you are in the San Diego area or within a 100-mile radius, you're going to hear about a phenomenal event that we will be sharing. I'll put it on the screen right now. It's called Resonance Shadowlight Cymatics, featuring cymaticist Xavier Bailey, and it's at the Reuben Fleet Planetarium. So can't wait to share more about what that is. And also, Jamie has performed on a multitude of songs that I've produced. So this is a really beautiful treat for some of you that have been listening to my productions as DTO to know behind the scenes some of these phenomenal studio musicians that are dear friends of mine. And Jamie is, we've collaborated on multiple songs now. So want to make sure that everyone knows that since this is live streaming, I encourage you to comment. I can share the comment on the screen. You can ask a question. As always, we would love for you to share. You know the phrase, sharing is caring, as well as put an emoji just to let us know that you're out there. And as always, you can reach me if you are interested in any mentorship programs for learning how to produce your own music. I also run a marketing agency, as well as if you are simply interested to come to this extraordinary slice of paradise called Costa Rica. And this is where I live full time, and we do retreats. And we have a few spots left this upcoming December retreat. So check me out on all the socials. You can see here below. And I'd love to be in connection with you. So without further ado, you can see this amazing photo that was taken at the end of last year. Jamie and I played for some amazing souls, Mr. and Mrs. Moon. They got married and we got to free flow. I just started playing piano and Jamie started playing, and the rest is a magical mystery journey. So thank you for being here, everyone. And without further ado, I will bring on the lovely Jamie Shadowlight. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for your presence, your energy. And you have a countdown for this phenomenal event. And I want to put this at the top of our interview because I feel that this is, wow, it looks so beautiful. I love the imagery. I love the costuming. I love your violin. And to be playing at the Fleet Planetarium is a big deal. And when I moved to San Diego, once upon a time in 1999, which is 23 years ago, I had such extraordinary experiences in this planetarium. So I can't even imagine, and I can't imagine because it's you, and of what you have dreamt up to have such a beautiful upcoming event. So we'll get into the details of that, but I just want to give a big mark your calendar moment for everyone that can put Saturday, September 17th, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in San Diego to check out this Resonance show. So just go to Facebook, just type in Resonance Shadowlight Cymatics, and what will pop up and place that you are going, RSVP, and make your payment through the methods that Jamie has outlined there. So as this picture was here at the beginning, this is the most recent picture, and this is the first picture we ever took. So I think it's fun to put that up. It's at our friend DJ Unite's studio in San Diego, and this is my debut album, Nameless Energy. This is the album that put me on the map, and you played on a song called Flow. And so I love that this is there. This is my debut album. I always think this is fun. I can try to get my face matched up here.
Oh, so close.
See, I don't have a beard anymore. I'm living in the tropics. It'd be too hot if I had a beard. So yeah, that was a beautiful beginning, and that was my debut album. And then of course, Since then, you've played on a multitude of songs. You even performed at the World Beat Center when Kiyoshi and I did our dual album launch party, and you've played extensively and gigged with Kiyoshi a lot. So I love that all musicians, and if you're a musician, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I would even expand it further. If you're a creative soul, it tends to be we just find each other, right? We're calling each other in. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So the questions I'm going to be asking today is all about your origins of music leading up to this beautiful event that is coming up September 17th. Okay, so you ready to share your origin story, Jamie?
Yes,
Let's
I
do
am.
it. Okay, question number one. I feel like this is, lightning round. Number one, when did you begin to love music? And that's in the context of you as a listener experiencing music for the first time. It's like, welcome, Earthling, to this planet. And when did music really begin to be something that attracted you to the frequencies of vibrations?
I started the journey of playing music at the world's largest tuning fork right here. I started playing when I was 5 years old. I started playing the violin, and it was very much like learning a language. So I was practicing every single day, winning competitions, learning how to read, write, all the things of the violin. I started also playing the piano when I was about 7. But I really started to love music when when I was about 18. I left my home for the first time, and I felt when I started to connect music with expression, when I started to create music from improvising, becoming a street musician, I started to really love it. I started to find the communion with the sound, and also playing in the streets. I communing with the people, playing in nature, and I really, really started to love it. And by then, I also had enough consciousness to understand how to love something. And yeah, and that's how my journey began.
I love that. Yeah, and big gratitude for my mom, and I'm sure for your parents, and for introducing you to music, right? And I also began playing piano. I was classically trained at 5 years old. And we're still developing as an organism, or our fingers and our our muscle memory, and even just our minds, and how we hear and interpret the world, right? So I feel it's such a beautiful age to absorb and start to get the mechanics of that, right? It's like, if when you learn how to ride a bicycle, it's not only about the mindset of, hey, I want to ride a bike. It's also like, where do you put your hands, where do you put your feet, just like driver's ed with a car. And I feel like that's the same with any instrument. Like, okay, feel your way around it. Like for me with the piano, like, wow, I have 88 possibilities and I have 10 fingers. Okay, mathematically, what's possible? How can I do it? And of course, I'm sure for you, when you grew up, you listened to certain styles of music. I know, like Aaron Copland, I loved Aaron Copland as well as a composer, one of the greatest out there. I remember one of the songs, I think it was Rodeo. What was the song? It has a dun 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 dun
Oh yeah,
dun.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that song, that's like a theme in my life. It's just such a dramatic, like uplifting moment. It's like, I'm gonna do this. It's almost like the Rocky Balboa song, but for like classically trained musicians.
And Bettina, and
Yeah, so many greats.
beautiful. It's kind of
Absolutely.
an introduction into jazz as well. They're in Copeland harmonies, and
hmm
yeah, I've been through a lot of worlds of music.
Yeah, well, that's one part of it too. So, question number two is, so you started playing violin first, then piano and guitar, and then within that, as you're sharing now, like you had classical songs, and then of course you got into other styles, and of course we can go through like the Romance styles, Renaissance, Baroque. There's so many eras of music throughout history of time, and then you get into the 60s and 70s, that style of music, and then even before then big band and jazz, and then now you have all this electronic music. As you know, I integrate electronic sounds into my music production, so it's probably endless, the styles of music that you've played with. But walk us through that journey for you of playing all these three instruments, and then we'll talk about your singing experience as well.
Well, recently I realized not recently, but within the past decade, that I am the music. So I can pretty much make it's the being. And the journey I've been on um, has taught me enough from learning these three instruments that I could pretty much pick up anything and make it, whether you use just one note or two notes, but I can make music. Um, I started playing violin. My mom put me in violin classes when I was 5. And again, I started piano when I was 7 or 8. And guitar, I started when I was about 18. And it was a borrowed guitar. And I learned a few chords and I just started writing songs. And back then I was singing. I really loved Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and, being the whole street musician thing and going up the coast of California to Big Sur, and was just really inspired by this newfound freedom of life. And and then from there I started to I came back to I moved to San Diego, and I got into the songwriter community here with Nancy Porter helping, giving me my first gig at the Interchange. And I was playing guitar and singing, and then I started going into violin again, and the violin refound me. And for years I was mainly a violinist. I started playing jazz fusion and started curating a lot of these shows that some of you may remember. Like we'd do the Beatles, but we'd take these popular songs or Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, but we would make them fusion and we would expand on them with really, really great jazz musicians, the funk and jazz musicians. And recently, though, after 2020, the COVID and everything slowed down, I rediscovered the guitar. I just recently got a Nagoni, an African harp. I started playing more in sound healing arenas, venues. And it's a gentler thing. And I started singing again and picking up the guitar and writing again. So it's just constant. It's such a vast world.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And as you know, once you have the music theory as well as understanding how each instrument plays and then having a love and appreciation for what's even possible. And then I feel like the next level is exploring your own creativity of like how to create your own sounds, really like your signature sound as an artist. I feel that's the ultimate goal. And that's any kind of art, right? If you're a painter, if you're a dancer, if you're a poet, if you're a musician, to create something that is uniquely able to have an imprint of energy where when people experience that output, that gift, they receive it and feel like, wow, that was Jamie Shadowlight.
Yes. Well, Carlos Santana said, you play through B.B. King until you find your own voice. And that's kind of been the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Loving so much, and then playing through them and digesting them. But right now I really feel like I have my sound, and I'm honoring that and living within that realm. It's really nice.
Beautiful. Well, talking about sound, you have played on a few productions of mine. And of course, we mentioned, my debut album, Nameless Energy, and then I had Infinite Energy, Radiant Energy. And what I've been able to do is take those musical pieces from my trilogy of albums, and I repurposed one of the songs called Flight. That's the origin of this, which is beautiful because I know you love butterflies. And we're always taking flight in our human consciousness and shining our light in the world. And we go through metamorphoses ourselves, right? We're always in this transformative cocoon of like, oh, I have this fear, I have this upper limit. How do I break through from that past breakdown I had? So what I've loved about the song that I'm going to share with you, all you listeners out there, is this song, Be Free, features Jamie. And not only Jamie, but as you can see from the credits here, there's a vocalist, Calibri, and then there's a cellist, Erdis, and then a viola, Nico. And a big shout out to Drew for in engineering the recording. And this is an orchestral piece. So let's listen to the song Be Free. And actually, this launches September 10th on the Harvest full moon.
Wow.
Okay, that's your sample. Can't give it all away.
Yeah, and just hearing it on the computer doesn't do it justice.
Yes.
It's so
Get some
beautiful.
headphones on. If you're interested in getting it in advance, and this is for all the music that I launch, I have a DTO subscription offering because a lot of people want to license music. And you can see these are all the members. And a dear friend Kim wrote, I can't tell you how much I adore this track, the dreamy and uplifting feeling of the music. Vocals is so expansive. What a dream collaboration indeed. And you're part of that collaboration, Jamie.
Oh,
And so,
love
yeah,
Elise and Nico. I love them.
so good. Yeah. And so if you go to dtomusic.com, you'll see there's an option to go and subscribe, which I think is great. Not everyone knows that they can support not only musicians that way, but besides them getting their content taken down or removed from YouTube for violating international copyright laws, all they need to do is reach out to the artist and say, hey, DTO, hey, Jamie, I love that song of yours. Could I put it into a video? And so if anyone is interested in that, as always, you can reach out. You never know, because I think nowadays, how many series are people watching on TV? How many movies? How many ways that people are content creators? So I think it's always great in this digital realm to have music. I mean, you can dance without music, but how much more fun is it to have the music, right? Or Jamie can do this amazing show September 17th, but how much more awesome would it be in addition to all the visuals that you're going to see September 17th? Guess what? It's going to be amazing music. So having audio and visuals, sound, and a whole presentation. Can't wait for you to share that further in a moment. But so let's get into your singing. That's question number 3. So how has your journey of singing been evolving, right? Because the throat chakra is a muscle. So it's just like when you're working out at the gym, or if you're running or you're practicing yoga, it's something to work on continually. And I believe that started for you in 18 years old. So feel free to continue sharing about that.
Yeah, my journey started very idealistic and believing that I could change the world, that I was a light in the world. Yeah, I've really felt that strongly, and so I was really open about sharing. And as I progressed, I started to, like listen a little bit more, uh, with just your ears develop over time. But I feel like, as we're in this world over time, I think the choices that I've made in this life have really been towards energetic, um, keeping an energetic cachet, or you might say. So, a lot of as I've lived this long, beautiful life, I've chosen the things that honor my energy, and so I feel like my voice has evolved with my spirit and my being, and I've earned my voice. And so when I started first singing, again and sharing it again during 2020. It came from I was gifted a medicine song came through after a powerful experience. It was called "Flow to Fly," and it got me to pick up the guitar again and remember had that I had done this before, that I had sang and played guitar so long ago. And I had actually forgotten because I've been playing so much violin. I was so in the world of violin. And right now, it feels home. It feels like it just feels natural and good. And I feel like I'm not trying to sing. Like, I'm not a singer. I'm a singer, but I'm not trying to sing as much as um, just use my voice in an honest way.
I love that. So I sang in choir when I was in high school, and it was because there wasn't enough men. So
Oh,
it's like the choir teacher. I was playing drums and piano and doing, in the pit, like backing up with music. And it was like, hey, get up on stage here and, start singing. So I remember singing and activating my voice. I did it very late in life when I was in high school and I was a teenager. So, and for you, you were a teenager. But wouldn't you agree? Like the more that you use your voice, the more that there's this flow state that you can get in, right? Where you just start to, it's almost like when you're in a yoga class and you it's taking place, it's happening, but you're also allowing it to take place. And I would say the same when you're playing a musical instrument.
yes.
And so that's what a lot of people that have reached out to me and say, hey, I'd love to sing on a song. I'm like, well, how often do you sing? Oh, I haven't sang, however many years. I'm like, well, your voice, you need to do scales, you need to train, you need to do warm-ups. If you think of
I
any,
do none of that.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like
But my
anything
mind,
out there.
I know all
Yeah,
the skills, I know all the modes,
of
I know all
course, yeah.
the stuff. So, but I've done the training, and I play
Hmm.
five instrument. So I think I have the pitch thing is kind of deep ingrained. Just having a awareness. But I
Absolutely.
don't consider myself like a singer. But I have been singing, and I've been doing I've been doing so far sounds, and the trilogy at Trilogy
Hmm.
Library, and every time it just feels really powerful, and I get the response back as well, and from the live stream. So it's just something I love so much.
It's so awesome to I love your live streams. I'll just be scrolling on my Facebook feed. I'll be like, oh, there's Jamie, and you have the guitar sometimes. You're just in the moment, channeling and flowing. I love
Thank
it. So beautiful. So let's jump into question number 4,
you.
which is how do people respond to your music? What are some highlights of what they share with you? And there's probably some constant adjectives that you hear. And I feel like all of us that are creative souls, it's always that, especially if you know the 5 love languages, right? If words of affirmation, it always feels good when people receive the music and share it with you. So, what are some sentences, phrases you've heard from people?
Oh, it's so beautiful. The communion, um, transformative, chills. A lot of people get chills. Um, and just a lot of gratitude and affirmation. Just this beautiful mirror back that they. What I notice though is when I come from a place of honesty and from a place where I get into flow state, that everybody is engaged, that we all become one in the room, that everybody's engaged in the sound, and yeah, I think transformative is the main word that I've been hearing. Inspirational.
I love that. I would say the same for when I hear your music. So let's have a little sample of the upcoming event, September 17th. So you have 2 videos. I'll play the first one.
what you're seeing there is Cymatics. It's the first live violin Cymatics, and actually, we'll talk about the show in a minute. But you're actually seeing the vibrations of the violin
Hmm.
water into.
Beautiful. Well, let's jump into our final question. So, number 5 is tell us about your show Resonance, the Shadowlight Cymatics experience.
Yes. So I've been working on this show longer than any project I've ever worked on, and it's been a little over a year. The dream began in 2014, and I went to a show at UCSD at the White Box, or at the Black Box, and it was a show with master bassist, upright a contrabassist Mark Dresser, and he was working with this man named Moses Hackmon. And Moses has a book called The Faces of Water, and he was moving the water, but it was cymatics, but it wasn't like what we were doing. The cymatics was a pan of water, a flat pan, and it was moving like in more like waves. And they had put some copper ions in the water, and they were projecting it up on the screen as he played. And it was really profound. Also, just being in a space where I was resonating with this bass frequency, and after the show, my water. I felt my water, and from that moment on, I became really conscious that we are water. I mean, we know we've been told we are water, but every cell, we are mainly water, and there's water between us. And whenever we hear music or any sound, it's impacting our water. It's actually um, moving our water. And from that moment, I dreamt of doing violin cymatics. I went up to LA and I worked with Moses for a session. And it was at that time, we needed so much power to get the violin frequencies amplitude. And so we put it aside, and life, I started touring and joining bands. And about a year ago, I was in Panama about a couple years ago, and I was with this amazing woman, Catherine, and her Instagram is Love Liberates You, and she was getting married to Neil, who started Sacred Sons, one of the founders, and we played at their wedding. And at that time, we connected, and she ended up moving to Hawaii, to Maui, and she started working with this man, Brian Leto from Biotemple. One day, to me, Instagram and Facebook and social media, it's like an oracle. And like you said, what you're seeking is also seeking you. And it's always been a really beautiful mycelium connection with the world. And it always magically brings me to the person that I need to connect with. And so Brian was one of those people, and she posted the thing, and he was doing cymatics. It wasn't live music cymatics. It was still a lot of the cymatics is of tone generators. And I have an inner geek. So I was like, wow, well, I've always dreamt of doing this. And he's like, well, let's do it. Come by. We're moving the Biotemple in a couple months, but you can come by like in a couple weeks, and you can be the artist in residence. And at the Biotemple, you'll be our third artist in residence, and we'll just focus on cymatics. So I ended up in the heart chakra of the world, Maui, and Brian is a wizard. Brian is a alchemical plant medicine. He knows the landscape. He knows the medicine within the landscape, and is very educated in spirit and the alchemical ways. Ooh, the rainbows are coming in. So he ended up building this box for me, and he pulled out an old bass that he had just gotten. I activated his bass playing, and we just sat across from each other, and we moved water for 2 weeks straight. And in that time, he gave me the box. I came back. We were live streaming from the island, and Xavier, I had worked with Xavier through some photography. He would always ask to show up at shows and get these beautiful photos, and then he asked me to model for him. And he was such a master of lighting and the camera work, which is also a part of cymatics. Brian calls it Cymatics because the root is chyma, which means wave in Greek. And it's and you can look up what that is. I can go into an explanation of what it is, but you can look it up online. And yeah, so I came back. Xavier is like, that was really cool. Like, I'd like to learn that and work on that with you, because there was still a lot of development in order to get to where we are now. And so we started working, and then we started Cymatics Mondays, and every week it would develop, and he would develop the machine to better suit my frequency range. I use a octave pedal, a loop pedal, and a delay pedal, and with that we've been able to see the creator in the water. And it's so beautiful, because you have the stillness, and then you get to start the tone, and all these messages come through the water. And it really coincides. There were times where this 8-sided, you'll see it in the videos, this shape would appear, and then I did this experiment where I would think of the shape and it would appear. And it doesn't always appear. There's this to me, Cymatics shows that I hope to bring awareness that we are impacted, that our water is being impacted by all the sounds in our environment, for good and for these sounds can either create dissonance and discord and chaos, or it can create coherence. And I decided to call the show Resonance. I was thinking of calling it Reverberation, but resonance is another word for reverberation. And they say that the universe was created by a low subsonic hum. And when you see how these these vibrations create order out of chaos, you've seen it with the sand plates. I'm sure many of you have seen that online, where you have, this world of sand, and all of a sudden, you resonate with the violin bow on the plate, and these shapes appear. And it goes way back. The ancient people knew this medicine. And in fact, Stanford is doing a lot of studies with John Stuart Reed, who invented the cymoscope, which never worked with live music. It was always with tone generators and pre-recorded music and channeling. I think now he's starting to work with live. But when we started a year ago, there was no path. And there was a very deep path, and we received the help of some of the master cymaticists who have dedicated their whole life. David Schermeyer, and Casey, Fifth Eye of Ra, he says. And what I noticed about the Cymatics community is that they are very open source. They take this knowledge and they share it openly, and we're there to receive it. So now the planetarium show, it's just taking. I've been doing shows in the planetarium all year with different artists, and we wanted to share it in a beautiful, grand way, and bring an experience, this amazing show. So yeah, it's just so much discovery in the water, working with the water. And the next experiment, I would like to connect with the lab and see how the pH, if working with the water, resonating the water, because you're creating vortexes, 3-dimensional sculptural vortexes is what you're seeing. We see it as 2-dimensional, but it's actually 3-dimensional. And I'm curious to see if it changes the pH of the water. So yeah, the show will be a combination of the creation mythos. So we'll start with a water blessing, And we'll have 7 sisters that represent the star sisters of the Pleiades come in. I'm actually heading to Mount Shasta in the morning, and I'll be bringing back the water from Mount Shasta. And one of the things we learned in the water is that tap water is very dull. And once I started using water from the spring sources directly from Mount Shasta, it came alive and it has a lightness to it. And so we'll start with the water blessing with the water that I bring back from Mount Shasta and 7 very beautiful, powerful women. And then we'll start with a collective Om. And when we start oming, we'll start to create the universe, the cosmos, and we'll be mixing in these amazing planetarium visuals with the cymatic resonance. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, let me play a clip for people to have a deeper understanding.
Yes.
Ooh, beautiful.
Mind check inside the planetarium. So what you're seeing is the medium of water in a speaker cone, in a plate with a speaker cone underneath it, and you're seeing the shape with the invisible, which is sound, made visible. And when you think of hearing, when you think of resonance, when you hear a sound, we often think of it as in our ears, but it's not. It's fully impacting every cell of our body. And they found recently that we're discovering so much in these times. It's such an exciting time to be alive. And they found that our liver and our pancreas, and they actually they hear, they smell, they have olfactory, they have like these sense organs like within the organs. And John Stuart Reed has been doing a lot of work with the cymatics, and you could actually see the water signature of a cancer cell. That these cells actually emit this sound, that every cell emits this sound that we could see. And working in sound healing and working in sound as medicine, and even playing a show, having the spirit to create medicine in the journey, in the communion with your listener, to give something that will give them something that will resonate their cells in a way that they feel uplifted and happy and just good, and make them feeling good is a very powerful medicine.
Absolutely. Right. It takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. Kind of the same idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Let's have a reason to be joyous and have our bliss. And I really love this vision. I'm so grateful that you explained the backstory of how the seeds were planted, the idea. And of course, your life went in all different directions, but you stayed true and you were a stand to have this come to life. And so September 17th at 8 p.m., people get to experience all this time and effort and energy. And you've been a part of so many amazing performances, but for you to really embody and take this on for your presentation, I really applaud you for all the behind the scenes time and all the hours and sleepless nights, perhaps. I know how it goes, right? Well, here's an idea. We could do this. So
yes, how do we make it happen? And then
yes, absolutely.
Happen. Yeah.
Yeah. In Balboa Park, I feel, that's such a wonderful place in San Diego. So wonderful. The architecture, the history of it. Even the movie Citizen Kane was filmed parts at Balboa Park. I used to be a film major. So there's a huge history there. And so I highly invite anyone out there that feels the resonance to say yes and come to this event. And I added the link in all of the comment fields. So it doesn't matter what channel you're listening on. If you're watching on the DTO channel, if you're on Buddha Music Group, then the link is right there for you. So you can go to that link and you can go ahead and purchase your ticket. And if you have any questions at all, I know that there is a comment section, but I think you got a lot covered with what we're sharing today. And the last thing I'll bring up is that, when it comes to creation, it's you're the visionary, Jamie, right? Like you have this idea, and it's really the capacity to have leadership and to guide and to share that with Xavier and other people that are a part of this. And so, yeah, I'd love to have you take a moment to recognize any team members and people that have been a part of it. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, it's amazing how there is a leadership. There is also I'm a big collaborator. I love.
Yep.
I mean, I had a very specific vision of the Oracle box and this very spiritual thing, and you work with who you're working with, and you allow them um, to express themselves, and that's, I think, how you get the best overall. That's how you get it done, I think, in a way that everyone contributes fully. So Xavier Bailey has really stepped up. He became a cymaticist over the year. I joke with him that I'm going to give him the golden headlamp of the cymaticist.
Oh, well, share
and
that ceremony. That'd be fun.
and Brian Leto from Biotemple,
Hmm.
Corey and Mike at the planetarium. Corey runs the visuals, and he's just an amazing wizard of AV wizard, and he's just made things so easy and wonderful. And David Schermeyer, who created the life viewer that we're using in the show, because we were doing, we call the first Cymatics machine the Millennium Falcon, the one that Brian
Oh,
built,
yeah.
and each time it would like kind of evolve, and then it would devolve and evolve and devolve. Yeah, there he is right now. And then
Hmm.
finally, one night, we Xavier put his name. He started to support David Schermeyer in his Patreon, and every month he does a giveaway. And he one night he won the machine, and we were just like, okay, well, this totally levels us up. Now we feel confident enough to share this
So
in,
cool.
in something like a planetarium because we have a stable machine. And David Schermeyer, if you don't, he I'll put a link. He has spent his whole life in. He is a true cymaticist. Xavier is a
Mm.
cymaticist. We've been working together. He's really a great artist, a light artist, and but David Schermeyer has dedicated his whole life to this, and he's truly a pioneer, and he has seen God in the water. He really has. I'll send you a link because it's very inspiring and mind blowing. And I share these stories because the story of the connection of it all, because it's a you really, when you have a vision, for me, it's a really this it's enough to have a true vision, and then you trust the universe to bloom it in its own time. And some things take bloom really quickly, but some things take years to bloom. And it's just keeping the your heart open, and knowing that it's going to bloom. The just knowing in your heart that it's just in time it will boom.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, keep the faith, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And something that a lot of my friends, you probably heard me say this, Jamie, I always say, they talk about the five love languages. I say, I have a sixth love language, which is collaboration. I love the
Oh my God.
power, the synergy, and anyone that has followed my music career knows that it's more than myself. It's, of course, having the vision, having the idea, arranging the music, understanding what is possible. But the only way you could ever bring it to light is by having collaboration and knowing who has their different zones of genius, like bringing
Yeah.
people on board that are phenomenal at that skill set and they want to even grow and expand. And then, as you know, I always love the cosmic mathematical equation of 1 + 1 = infinity. Right? You
Oh, I
bring
love it.
two minds together, and you're like, whoa, anything's possible.
Yeah, and it's
And
allowing that
yeah,
existence of both, instead of I'm the leader and you're going to do what I say and everything. It's like
yeah.
there's a vision, but it's a casting. It's
Hmm.
the right casting of somebody who can fully expand into the collaboration.
Well, I'll rephrase it by saying you're um, a soulpreneur. you're seeing
No,
the
but
vision.
true. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And to guide people for what your vision is, allowing for people to see that, to be a yes. And as what you said, is to have all these beautiful synchronicities pop up and to have the technology, the machine to make the visuals, having a beautiful venue. So if anyone out there has not been to the Fleet Planetarium, it is quite phenomenal. So yes, Balboa Park. So look here below, everyone. September 17th, 8 p.m. Resonance, the Shadowlight Cymatics experience. And so it is.
And so it is. come come out.
Mm,
It's a very special thing. It's thank you so much. I admire and love everything we've created together. Your way with expression, the way you're able to communicate, the way you support others, and I feel so grateful that you reached out today to do this.
yes, I was so excited that you're creating this, and it's just consistently for us as musicians, it's how do we expand, how do we allow for these musical ideas to then match up with the visuals, and then to match up with the collaborative team, and then inviting the community, no matter what community you're a part of. It's about that humanity experiencing something beyond what is in our daily lives. And I promise you, this show, you already saw it from the clips, goes beyond what your life probably has on a daily basis. Or if you were just at Burning Man, this is an extension of that.
Yeah, it is an extension of that.
Yeah, whoever's in a cubicle or something, of course, this is going to be like mind blowing. So,
It's pretty. It blows my mind every time. I can't wait to share it with you.
mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I trust this is one of many shows, and I know that the momentum, and I know that it'll be received beautifully, and hopefully you'll film some of it so you can share it with those people that can't be there in person, and
Yeah.
also plan another one. And I'll close by sharing the last time that you and I played together was the photo that we shared at the beginning. And this was our spontaneous improvisational experience. So I have a little clip of that. We'll end our podcast today. And I want to thank you, Jamie, for being such an extraordinary, beautiful soul, such a great friend. And as you know, la música es muy importante.
Love you so much. And it's
Love you,
so,
sister.
you're living in Costa Rica and just watching you follow the dreams, and so inspiring. So inspiring.
And as you know, you've witnessed it, it's inspired my music, right? And
Yes.
when we are closer to nature, closer to ourselves, closer to others, then naturally that creative energy comes through.
I can hear
And
it in your voice too.
mm,
The whole
thank
energy.
you. I walk the land every day. I feel very grounded, feel connected. So very grateful. And I
Well,
get to be in San Diego this month, and I get to travel, and wherever you go, there you are. So I'm glad to be here. And thank you, everyone in this digital world, for being here. And I'll close out with sharing a beautiful performance that myself, DTO, and Jamie Shadowlight performed. Thank you, everyone.